Heart rate monitors and more recently power meters and GPS capabilities have completely changed the way that we train. This small Garmin device on my handlebars and others like it allows us to track more metrics than we could have imagined possible just a few years ago. But it's important that you learn properly how to use it.
Again, if you follow a few simple pointers, it'll help you get more out of your training than ever before.
Training hard is all about motivation. There's nothing quite so motivating as having someone to ride with who's going to push you. Well, with your Garmin, there's a way of doing that, even if you're on your own. So with live segments, you can pick a certain section of road and then race against either yourself, the leader of that segment overall, or a particular friend that you're connected with on Garmin Connect. It's particularly good if you're doing hill reps and you need to set yourself a target. The Garmin will give you a countdown to the segment start, and then it will plot your position in comparison to where you want to be.
With so many data options available on your Garmin, it can sometimes be difficult to know which to choose. Now, a lot of that will depend on the size of the screen you've got, and sometimes on your eyesight too. But I tend to go with one screen for my overall ride. So I'll have something like time, heart rate. Here I've got gradient, elevation and power, and then another screen set to intervals. So current and lap power, and current and lap heart rate.
Whilst we're on the subject of metrics, we'd like to really emphasise that lap timing is hugely important. There are certain things that you can do without seeing whilst you're riding along. Even things like speed and distance covered are quite arbitrary when it comes to training, and simply things that you can look at and analyse afterwards just as a matter of interest. On the other hand, it's time spent on the bike which is really important, and more specifically, time spent doing intervals. So having a lap timer at the top of one of your screens will allow you to make sure that you've done enough work, not too much. If you've just connected a power meter to your Garmin for the first time, you might be a little bit surprised at what the data is showing you and the way that it jumps around all over the place, even when you think you're riding steadily. Well, that is just the nature of power, but there's a great little function to help you out. It's called smoothing, and basically what it does is it takes your average power for either the last 3, 5 or 10 seconds. It means that you're really sure that you're riding to the correct power for the intensity that you want to ride at. Now I tend to use 3-second smoothing because I'm quite experienced at riding to a set power, but give it a try, 3, 5 or 10 seconds. Part of what makes the perfect training ride is making sure that you're on the right roads for the type of efforts that you want to get done. But if you're away from home and about to go out on roads that you don't know, that can be pretty hard, but that is where the Garmin really comes into its own. Spend a bit of time researching the place the previous night or before you go out on the ride, and then create a route on Garmin Connect, upload it to your device, and that will mean that first and foremost, you're not going to get lost, but secondly, that you're on the right terrain for you, be that long climbs, short climbs, rolling terrain, or even completely flat terrain.
Your IF, or intensity factor, is a way of comparing your effort in relation to your FTP, functional threshold power. So, if your FTP is 200 watts and your normalised power is 150 watts, and your intensity factor is 0.75. Now, it's a great way of measuring the kind of zone you're in and the sort of effort you're making, and arguably easier to remember than your power zones.
So there you have it, a few pointers to help you get more out of your training using your Garmin. First of all, use live segments to motivate yourself, understand intensity factor, make sure you're looking at the right data fields, lap timing is essential, use power smoothing to make it easier to read, and finally, use navigational tools on Garmin to your advantage.
If you wanted ideas for some specific training sessions you can do and then monitor with your Garmin, well, why not check out one of these 2 videos just over here.
And make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking on us.
Why don't you click on Matt? He's not had much to do.
He's a bit quiet, Matt.
Yeah. Sorry, mate, what's
Quiet.
that? No.